I'm just finishing off a bit more of Kandinsky, and it's the end of the first section, which is very short, and it's called The Pyramid. And so at different points along the road are the different arts, saying what they are best able to say, and in a language which is peculiarly their own. Despite, or perhaps thanks to the differences between them, there's never been a time when the arts approached each other more nearly than they do today, in this later phase of spiritual development. In each manifestation is the seed of a striving towards the abstract, the non-material. Consciously or unconsciously, they are obeying Socrates' command, know thyself. Consciously or unconsciously, artists are studying and proving their material, setting into balance the spiritual value of those elements, with which it is their several privilege to work. And the natural result of this striving is that the various arts are drawing together. They're finding in music the best teacher. With few exceptions, music has been for some centuries the art which has devoted itself not to the reproduction of natural phenomena, but rather to the expression of the artist's soul in musical sound. A painter who finds no satisfaction in mere representation, however artistic, in his longing to express his inner life, cannot but envy the ease with which music, the most non-material of the arts today, achieves this end. He naturally seeks to apply the methods of music to his own art. And from this results that modern desire for rhythm in painting, for mathematical abstract construction, for repeated notes of color, for setting color in motion. As a note, I would say, obviously, the book is designed to emulate this kind of a piece of music. This borrowing of method by one art from another can only be truly successful when the application of the borrowed methods is not superficial but fundamental. One art must learn first how another uses its methods, so that the methods may afterwards be applied to the borrower's art from the beginning, and suitably. The artist must not forget that in him lies the power of true application of every method, but that power must be developed. In manipulation of form, music can achieve results which are beyond the reach of painting. On the other hand, painting is ahead of music in several particulars. Music, for example, has at its disposal duration of time, while painting can express to the spectator the whole content of its message at one moment. Music, which is outwardly unfettered by nature, needs no definite form for its expression. Painting today is almost exclusively concerned with the reproduction of natural forms and phenomena. Her business is now to test her strength and methods, to know herself as music has done for a long time, and then to use her powers to a truly artistic end. And so the arts are encroaching one upon another, and from a proper use of this encroachment will rise the art that is truly monumental. Every man who steeps himself in the spiritual possibilities of his art is a valuable helper in the building of the spiritual pyramid, which will someday reach to heaven. And I'm going to include here the next section, which is also quite short. So it moves in. That was the finish of the first section of the book, which was, I think, about general aesthetic. And the second section is about painting. The first section of which is the psychological working of color. And he says, to let the eye stray over a palette splashed with many colors produces a dual result. In the first place, one receives a purely physical impression. one of pleasure and contentment at the varied and beautiful colors. The eye is either warmed or else soothed and cooled. But these physical sensations can only be of short duration. They are merely superficial and leave no lasting impression, for the soul is unaffected. But although the effect of the colors is forgotten when the eye is turned away, the superficial impression of varied color may be the starting point of a whole chain of related sensations. On the average man, only the impressions caused by very familiar objects will be purely superficial. A first encounter with any new phenomenon exercises immediately an impression on the soul. This is the experience of the child discovering the world, to whom every object is new. He sees a light, wishes to take hold of it, burns his finger and feels henceforward a proper respect for flame. But later he learns that light has a friendly as well as an unfriendly side, that it drives away the darkness, makes the day longer, is essential to warmth, cooking, play acting. From the mass of these discoveries is composed a knowledge of light, which is indelibly fixed in his mind. The strong, intensive interest disappears, and the various properties of flame are balanced against each other. In this way, the whole world becomes gradually disenchanted. It is realized that trees give shade, that horses run fast, and motor cars still faster, that dogs bite, that the figure seen in a mirror is not a real human being. And so he's, just to comment here, he's making this connection between our humanity, our enchantment, our interest, our curiosity, our exploration, all connected. He continues. As the man develops, the circle of these experiences caused by different beings and objects grows ever wider. They acquire an inner meaning and eventually a spiritual harmony. It is the same with color, which makes only a momentary and superficial impression on a soul, but slightly developed. It is the same with color, which makes only a momentary and superficial impression on a soul, but slightly developed in sensitiveness. But even this superficial impression varies in quality. The eye is strongly attracted by light, clear colors, and still more strongly attracted by those colors which are warm as well as clear. Vermilion has the charm of flame, which has always attracted human beings. Keen lemon yellow hurts the eye in time, as a prolonged and shrill trumpet note the ear. And the gazer turns away to seek relief in blue or green. But to a more sensitive soul, the effect of colors is deeper and intensely moving. And so we come to the second main result of looking at colors, their psychic effect. They produce a corresponding spiritual vibration, and it is only as a step towards this spiritual vibration that the elementary physical impression is of importance. Whether the psychic effect of color is a direct one, as these last few lines imply, or whether it is the outcome of association, is perhaps open to question. The soul being one with the body, the former may well experience a psychic shock caused by association acting on the latter, the body. For example, red may cause a sensation analogous to that caused by flame, because red is the color of flame. A warm red will prove exciting. Another shade of red will cause pain or disgust through association with running blood. In these cases, color awakens a corresponding physical sensation, which undoubtedly works upon the soul. In passing, I would mention Durkheim and followers' theories about the origins of religion and blood and sacredness. And then cross-culturally, red is always the first color to be named after black and white. Again, he said, in these cases, color awakens a corresponding physical sensation, which undoubtedly works upon the soul. If this were always the case, it would be easy to define by association the effects of color upon other senses than that of sight. One might say that keen yellow looks sour because it recalls the taste of a lemon. But such definitions are not universally possible. There are many examples of color working which refuse to be so classified. A Dresden doctor relates of one of his patients, whom he designates as an exceptionally sensitive person, that he could not eat a certain sauce without tasting blue, i.e., without experiencing a feeling of seeing a blue color. Synesthesia. It would be possible to suggest, by way of explanation of this, that in highly sensitive people, the way to the soul is so direct and the soul itself so impressionable that any impression of taste communicates itself immediately to the soul and thence to the other organs of sense, in this case, the eyes. This would imply an echo or reverberation, resonance, such as occurs sometimes in musical instruments, which, without being touched, sound in harmony with some other musical instrument struck at the moment. But not only with taste has sight been known to work in harmony. Many colors have been described as rough or sticky, others as smooth and uniform, so that one feels inclined to stroke them, e.g., dark ultramarine, chromic oxide green, and rose madder. Equally, the distinctions between warm and cold colors belongs to this connection. Some colors appear soft, rose madder, others hard, cobalt green, blue-green oxide, so that even fresh from the tube they seem to be dry. The expression scented colors is frequently met with. And finally, the sound of colors is so definite that it would be hard to find anyone who would try to express bright yellow in the bass notes or dark lake in the treble. The explanation by association will not suffice us in many and the most important cases. Those who have heard of chromotherapy will know that colored light can exercise very definite influences on the whole body. Attempts have been made with different colors in the treatment of various nervous ailments. They've shown that red light stimulates and excites the heart, while blue light can cause temporary paralysis. But when the experiments come to be tried on animals and even plants, the association theory falls to the ground. So one is bound to admit that the question is at present unexplored, but that color can exercise enormous influence over the body as a physical organism. No more sufficient in the psychic sphere is the theory of association. Generally speaking, color is a power which directly influences the soul. Color is the keyboard, the eyes are the hammers, the soul is the piano with many strings. The artist is the hand which plays, touching one key or another to cause vibrations in the soul. Quote, "It is evident, therefore, that color harmony must rest only on a corresponding vibration in the human soul. And this is one of the guiding principles of the inner need." This phrase, inner need, means primarily the impulse felt by the artist for spiritual expression. Okay, that was the section, the psychological working of color, from Vasily Kandinsky after the pyramid in his Concerning the Spiritual in Art. And I'll move on further into the language of form and color sometime.